Hey everyone, this is Coach Phoenix.
And I'm Coach Gina.
And this is Toast with the Coaches. Cheers!
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 Everyone, and thank you again for joining us for another episode of Perspective, the show where we drink, talk about life, the universe, and all that other jazz.
So again, I'm Coach Phoenix, owner and CEO of Role Model Life Coaching. At Role Model Life Coaching, we focus on life transitions. We partner with our clients to help them navigate down the road of life towards their model self.
Yeah, if you are not living the life that you want to be living right now and being the person you want to be right now, you hook up with Phoenix, he will help you get to that place. Absolutely. I am Coach Gina. I'm a certified life coach and founder of Clear Focus Coaching. So I'm going to switch it up on you guys a little bit because I am actually specializing in a new area. I have... It's the remix. I have switched to specialties from entrepreneurs. So don't worry, if you're still an entrepreneur and you want to work with me, please, you're more than welcome to come work with me. I would love to have you as a client. Specifically, I have switched to boundaries coaching, helping people to set limits around yourself with those around you to make space for you and who you want to be. And I'm continuing my specialty as well in empowering women, helping them to recognize their strength, potential in work, life, and relationships so they can face every day with confidence and intention.
And at this time, this is what everybody's been waiting for. I would like to raise a toast. I would like to raise a toast for a beautiful, intelligent, fearless, courageous entrepreneur, Dawn Estelle Archer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome, love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I just finished class, so my adrenaline is still up. I feel great.
I was going to say that. I was going to say you look like you've just been working out, and I've been like stalking you. I'm not a creep, but I have been stalking you. Research. Man, you really give the viewers and your fans and your following like something every day. Like I love the energy. I love the way that you just put yourself out there. So like kudos to you, sis.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so a little bit about that for our viewers and listeners. Tell us more about this class.
So I teach a dance fitness class that involves cardio, strength training. We use new music. I make choreography that repeats on every chorus, and the verses are different. It's really easy to follow along, and it is like a form of therapy for me, and I love doing it. So yeah, I teach 5 days a week on live stream now, but that is pretty much what the class is like.
Cool.
Amazing.
So before we get into that, right, and all the meat of it, right, because like this story is freaking amazing. Let's just start here. Let's start at where Dawn, like the beginning of Estelle, and like from start where you from until the part where you say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just pack everything up and take my show on the road and lead this journey of health and fitness. Can you begin there?
Yeah, so I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. A lot of my family still lives here. I'm actually here now. I kind of go back.
Here now. I'm in Richmond as well.
So yeah, I travel a lot, but this is home. I was in school in Atlanta, and I was there for fashion design at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And I was really depressed. I was about to graduate, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be doing. I wasn't really passionate about what I went to school for. I loved it, but it wasn't something that I was.
Hold on. There's a whole lot going on here. I have so many questions already. So tell me, why fashion design and why depressed with fashion design? That seems like two polar opposite things. It's so like happy and flashy.
My grandmother taught me and my aunt taught me how to sew before I went to school. So I was already making wedding gowns. I was consistently having alteration clients, and I knew how to sew. I was already painting and going to an art school for someone to teach me how to paint and sew. I thought it was the right move, but it was the situation where I knew a little bit more than even the people that were instructing me. So once I graduated and I realized that this is not really a career that I want to take, I slowly taught myself graphic design, and I ended up applying that more to my career than I did what I went to school for. And then I graduated and had student loans from going to a very expensive school. So that on top of bad relationships, on top of weight gain, just left me in a depression. So I was at an internship. They told me they didn't really value me and they were going to keep me as an intern for another 6 months. And I decided I wasn't going to do it. And I quit and I moved home and started teaching my classes in a parking lot.
Nice.
Wow.
And that was Sweat in 2013, correct?
Correct, yes.
Nice. So you was doing Sweat, you was in the parking lot. Then what? Like, how did it grow from being in a parking lot to you packing up your stuff and being like, let me take my show on the road?
Yeah, so I started teaching. I started posting about classes. Classes were $5. Meet me in the parking lot at 8 p.m. Sometimes I would have a speaker. Sometimes somebody's car would pull up. If the batteries died, we just improvised. And classes grew. And before I knew it, people were asking me to come different places. And I'm like, I can make these DVDs. People can do my classes from anywhere. So I started making DVDs, which now I think I have 8 DVDs. And it wasn't enough. I wasn't really satisfied with just like giving somebody a CD to do the workout. I wanted to be around people's energy.
Yes.
So I realized that I had saved quite a bit of money from teaching classes over 6 months. And I'm very frugal. I'm a minimalist, so I don't spend a lot of money. So I saved pretty quickly. I saved $40,000. And I remember going to my dad and saying, yeah.
You say you saved $45,000 in what time frame? Like how?
$40,000 in 6 months.
Nice.
Wow, that's amazing. I have a question about your parking lot workout starting there, especially as a female. Like, how did you feel about that, starting that up? Like, did you feel unsafe? Because I think about myself, I'm just like, I feel super weird being like, hey, everybody, meet me in the parking lot. Like, we're going to do a workout. I feel like that would just attract some people that I may not be inviting to.
Yeah, I'm not naive because I actually can memorize any show that comes on Investigation Discovery. Like, I know the warning signs, and I guess I'm a little bit of a risk taker in the fact that I don't really let fear drive what I do. I just make sure that I'm aware of what the situation could turn into. So I'm prepared for what it could be instead of being afraid of what it's not even yet. So I kind of go into it like that. Now, don't get me wrong. We had it was a well-lit parking lot that we worked out in. I did have one issue with this guy that used to actually pull up and videotape us. But one of my good friends is a police officer for Richmond City. And I called him over, can you just stop by during class? And he actually saw the guy, had a conversation with him. We never saw him again. So teaching classes outside was never really an issue. I don't get embarrassed easily. We just did it and it just worked out. We were behind a loft building, so it wasn't like we were in the middle of nowhere either. It was like a public place, so to speak. I was never really like nervous about it.
So you said I was gaining weight, bad relationship, school was like, the work was like, you know what? They don't value me. So you started these classes, but did you get your certification to like start teaching fitness classes? Or do you was like, you know what? I want to work out. I want to inspire other people to work out that look like me. That's what it is.
So no, I taught for 1.5 years before I got my certification. I had started going to the gym a little bit before I left my job. And
that was like your first experience in the gym?
I had gone before I went to college. I would go here and there, but I didn't know that it was eating, working out, and mental. And I never put all three together. And so it never worked. And so I just didn't think I could lose weight. And I ended up getting really depressed and sitting inside all day and got to the point where I wasn't taking showers. I was letting my dog use the bathroom inside. I wasn't taking care of just like hygiene things and doing dishes, whatever. And I'm like, I got to get out of this apartment. And so I started to walk and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go.
So what was that? I'm really curious because I know that myself included, like a lot of people have experienced that depression of just, it's that downward spiral too, like you look around and you're like, oh, I should really do something. And then you beat yourself up for not doing anything. So the rest that you're trying to take to be able to gain the energy to do something is not restful. So it's just this piling on. And for some people, there is that moment of just like, I need to get out of this. What was that moment like for you when you looked around, you're like, I'm getting up, I'm going for a walk, I'm doing it?
Yeah, good question. So I tell people, first of all, the depression is like, not like I don't have faith. It's not like I don't have support. It's not like my life is the absolute worst. I describe depression as so many things happening at one time that you lose control. And
Being overwhelmed.
Yeah, overwhelmed. Yeah. And so you kind of get to the point where you just get stuck. And it was December 2012. And I was in my apartment and I was watching a church service. And it was like the New Year's Eve church service. It was Alfred Street in Washington, D.C. And my sister was like, watch the service. And I'm like, I don't want to watch that service. Like, whatever. Like, I don't want to watch that. So I'm like laying in bed. I'm like, she's going to ask me about it. So I might as well just turn it on. Turns it on my laptop. And then he's talking about being behind somebody at a green light. And you're sitting at the green light, you're behind this person and you see the light turn green, but the person's not moving. And you're like, come on, you're honking your horn, you're screaming out the window, person's still not moving. Then the light turns yellow, they're still sitting there, and then the light turns red, and then you're stuck there for another light. And he says, this is what's happening to people when they get stuck in that mourning state. Like, it's okay to mourn for a little bit, but it's really important to not stay there. So you can sit on the yellow, but like don't get stuck when it gets to the red. And so he says, tomorrow morning when you wake up and it's a new day and it's a new year, I want you to go when you see green. And that was the message that I kind of heard. And I'm like, I'm really just like sitting and like doing nothing. And I'm not progressing at all. And I'm sitting at this green light when I can just go instead of sitting and waiting for it to get to red. That's really what got me up and got me going. And yeah.
Wow.
Nice. So you have a huge calling. You started to have a following within the city of Richmond. You have you just putting out these DVDs. You doing the parking lot thing. So what was next? What made you decide like, hey, I'm gonna pack up, hit the road, go to Cali, 50 states? Where that came from?
Yeah. So I don't have a job at this point. I don't have any children. I don't have a lease. And I'm like, I went to my dad and I said, I have this money. I've never had this much money before. Should I talk to like a financial advisor? Like, I don't know what to do. And he was like, what do you want to do with it? And I was like, I want to travel. And he was like, okay, travel. So at the time I was dating this guy. So I think it reassured them that like he was going to be with me. And I was like, me and so are going to go and I'm going to fly us to California. I'm going to buy, initially I didn't intend on buying a car. I initially intended on going, and I don't know why I thought I could do this, but flying from state to state or renting a car and going from state to state. But realized very early on that was expensive. So yeah, I just put everything in storage. I told them what I wanted to do, and they were just like, okay. And growing up, my parents have always known me to like be, I guess, not a delinquent or an outlaw, but like not a rule follower. And for them
tenacious.
Yeah. And instead of trying to talk me out of it, just like going with it. And if I fall, I fall. And if I don't, I don't. Cause I kind of very like strong minded. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So I just told them I was going to do it. I sold my car, put my stuff in storage and sold the rest of it and took a one-way to Venice and started teaching classes.
Nice.
How did you feel when you did that? Were you scared? Were you excited? What was the feelings around that?
I was excited. I was ready. I was hoping that like I wasn't throwing a birthday party and nobody was gonna come. Like I was just I didn't do RSVPs for the entire year. I literally just said, this is where I am, this is what time I'll be there. I think I was doing 5 or 10, I can't even remember. Bring money and meet me here to work out. And no permits, no permissions. I just set up and yeah.
But so at this point, you have like a little clout and a little following in Richmond, but now you're only on the West Coast. How do you gain that following? How do people know to come? Like, how do you didn't know anybody? What was the networking like? Like, how do you
I didn't know.
How you go from Dawn to Estelle?
So before I left to go on the tour, around November of 2013, I started putting at the end of my posts, if I reach 100,000 followers by New Year's, I'll go to all 50 states and I'll use my own money to do it. And that is how I started to tell people about it. So I was around 75,000 at the time. And by New Year's, I was at like 114,000. And wow. So people had started to say, hey, follow this girl. She's going to do a tour. She's gonna, so then word of mouth started like that. I didn't know if I had people that knew me in North Dakota until I got to North Dakota and went to go teach class and saw people pull up. I had no idea.
That's freaking amazing. So hold on, let's back up. So you had this following in Richmond,
Yeah.
So you would put your videos on Instagram, obviously, on social media. So they start to look at social media, and people from all over the country start to like to check you out. And then for word of mouth, they was like, hey, come to our city, we'll pay you.
Right.
That's
what I love too about the beginning of your story is, like you said, you hope you're not throwing a birthday party that nobody shows up to. Like there's a hint of that like imposter syndrome that we all experience, but you just blow through it and you're like, you know what? I feel it. I acknowledge it. I see you there, but you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my thing, and people flock to you. It's the energy that you're putting out. You're like, I'm doing the thing that I love. When you do the thing that you love, people they're attracted to that. They're like, yes, let us come join you in that. That's absolutely amazing.
I mean, if one person came, I still was going to teach class. It was never like, I'm not going to get a workout. It was either I'm going to work out today, I'm going to reach at least one person, or I'm going to reach 160 people. I just didn't know. But I was okay either way.
Nice. So when I was doing my stalking, I would say research, when I was doing my stalking, I noticed that like in the beginning of your journey, you was like, you had more, you was a lot bigger than you were at one particular time when you was on a tour. When you first started your tour, were you in shape? Did you look like at your peak, or did you go like, were you working out and shedding weight along with your clients? And was that, if so, was that something that attracted your clients to be like, you know what? Because sometimes if I go to physical training, I want my physical trainer to look like the type of person that I want to look like. I want to emulate this person, so that's the reason why I'm going to this person. It's crazy, not crazy, but it's empowering to me that women seen you and say, hey, she's not in shape yet, because I've seen your pictures, you was fabulous, but you wasn't in shape at that moment, but they still followed you.
Yeah. No, I lost weight with them. I went through the process with them. I think like probably the end of 2014, I was in my best shape. When I went to Jamaica to teach, it's kind of like when I was like in my best shape. But I definitely was not there when I started. But even like how it is now, I'm not in my best shape, but people see a big girl working out and it's like, oh, I'm a big girl. I can work out too. I can have endurance too. I can do these things too. So yeah, like you said, it helps to see where people start, where they go. When I look at somebody who's in shape now and they're trying to motivate me, it's not going to work, because you don't understand my relationship with food, my relationship with my emotions. I can't connect with you. You've never had that same struggle. And I think that's kind of how people relate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's being able to find that person that you can see your reflection in. And I love too that you're working along with the people to achieve your goals. And also what I'm hearing from what you're saying is like health is more of a journey. It's not a destination. You went from being from just starting out, working out and losing the weight and like, getting to the best shape of your life to like, it kind of ebb and flow in there, but you still are staying at it and you're still continuing with what you love and what you want to do and chasing those goals. Like, I really love that.
Thank you.
It continues to be this journey for you.
Yeah, it's a form of therapy, and when I stop, like I stop. And so for me, it's, if I'm not even losing weight, like it's something that I need to do to release stress, and so I'm gonna do it.
Nice. So what did your peak look like at that time? You was buzzing. You had almost 200,000 followers. People was loving you. How did that feel? What was? And then you was at the best shape of your life. I seen you, and I'm like, wow, she looked amazing. What was that like?
Thank you. It was humbling. I never like realized when I got so small that I was so small until I looked at some pictures. I'm like, my head looked like really big, and I didn't realize that like I was like losing so much. But more than like the weight loss or the following, at that time I had my gym. And specifically people that would come in, two types of people that would come in would really inspire me. Members that would come and they would start with their shirt on, or like a big t-shirt or like a big sweatshirt on. And then by the end of the week, they're working out in their sports bra. Those people inspired me that came to class. And also the people that would come in and they would say, this morning I lost a loved one, or I got fired from work and this is where I wanted to come today. So thank you for not canceling class. Those are the two types of people that really inspire me. Out of everybody, of course, I love everybody that comes to class because I know it means to them what it means to me. But those types of people really inspired me. So more than the weight loss, more than the fame, more than all that was knowing that like I was reaching people like on that level.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. It's so funny too, talking to people from different walks of life and getting their perspective, because there's this idea that I think Phoenix and I continue to hear and we continue to relate to, is that idea of reaching people and making connections and building relationships. I mean, through all of the people that we've interviewed and talked to, yourself included, it's this running theme, I think, and it's so I don't know, it brings me a lot of joy to see that from individuals, like there's a lot going on in the world and there's a lot of pain and sadness and everything. But, on the opposite side of things, there's also people like you who are reaching out and trying to connect and trying to change people's lives. And that's exactly what the world needs is, that beauty and that inspiration. And I love that your clients are also inspiring you back too, that's kind of a unexpected bonus, I think.
Exactly. So talking about, Gina, you brought up pain, and I know Estelle, you're like at this high point, you're on cloud 9, you toured all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Mexico, you living life, your body looking amazing, you feeling amazing, and then you had a turning point, correct?
Yeah.
Can you speak about that turning point? What happened?
Yeah, I went to get tested for just like a general physical, and like no symptoms, just was like, I should probably go to the doctor because I'm sleeping with somebody and I should probably go do that. And I hadn't gone in a really long time. And so, I was laying in bed March 12th, 2017, that morning around 6 a.m. I opened my emails and I got my test results back and found out that I was HIV positive.
Whoa.
Ooh. That's you know the date and the time and where you were when that happened. That was obviously a very impactful moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it was completely unexpected. I mean, I thought it said something else. So of course, like I log out, I log back in, I log out, log back in. Probably do that, I don't know, maybe like 20 times, thinking that I'm reading somebody else's results or, whatever. And I ended up, I was at my brother's house and I didn't really want to wake anybody up that early. So I left there and I drove to my sister's house. And on the way to my sister's house, I called my cousin probably 30 times and was just trying to like speak to somebody. And I went to CVS. I got a swab test and I took that to my sister's apartment and basically just walked in and handed it to her. And like laid on the floor in a ball, and she starts crying and I'm like, okay, this is like really happening. And then I left there and was basically just in shock and just saying I wanted to die. And nobody really knew what to do. I went to my parents' house and nobody could like calm me down or really like talk to me. And so my sister took me to the emergency room, and it was a Sunday, so nobody could really they said nobody was there that was able to speak to me because it was a weekend. So they gave me 7 Xanax and they sent me home.
Whoa. Wow. So your breakdown and what you're dealing with, this heavy thing that you just got handed, it's going to have to wait until a Monday. Like, what a response to that. And also that you got these results in an email. Like, how impersonal is that? Like, that's just...
Right out of my mouth. That's crazy.
I am. So what did that mean for you? I'm hearing that obviously this was a huge thing, it was devastating to you and those around you. Like, what did that mean for you? How did that impact you in that moment? Like, did you think like things are over now, or like, what did that mean?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm like, I'm never going to have kids. Nobody's ever going to have sex with me again. Nobody's ever going to want to date me again. This is like this thing that I think is like probably people's worst fears. Probably like even worse than finding out that they're dying is to live with HIV, and the stigma. I mean, I was completely broken. I was basically in shock. It was like unbelievable. It wasn't something that's like, oh yeah, maybe I remember sleeping with this one guy that did this and possibly, or like, it was none of that. Like, I absolutely had no idea where it came from, who it came from. I didn't know. I was and then when you test positive, you're supposed to go to the health department to start discussing what type of medication that you want to get on.
Yeah. Hold on. No, I'm sorry. I do want you to touch on that. But prior to that, right, when you found out you had HIV and you went to the doctor, I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard once you in the, it feels like an interrogation because they want to know like who you slept with. You got to contact this person. Like, how did you feel like that?
Yeah. So that day that I found out, I basically went to the hospital. When I came home from the hospital, my sister-in-law and my sister had gone to the store and gotten me some things because I was supposed to start a job the next day. So I was supposed to start working at Delta the next day. Supposed to be there at like 9 a.m. So they went and did all that. I went to my parents' house. I spent the night, slept in the bed with my mom, screamed night terrors like all night, woke up the next morning, went to work. I started getting calls.
You went to your new job?
Yeah, I went to my new job. Yeah, and started orientation as like, hi, I'm a new girl, I'm here. And it was a Monday morning, of course, March 13th. And I started getting phone calls because when you test positive, they immediately tell the health department that in the state that you live in. So then they're going to start calling and trying to get you on medication. So I ended up telling my new supervisor, I was like, look, I don't want you to think that I have a bad work ethic or that I'm flaky because I keep having to go take breaks to get on the phone. But yesterday I found out that I was HIV positive and I have an appointment that I need to go to. And she's like, what are you doing here? We can give you time off work. And I'm like, no, this is like a good distraction. I need to be here. And so I ended up leaving early. My sister took me to the health department. And they basically set you there and they want to know, you first talk to intake. They want to know, like, are you promiscuous? How many people have you slept with in the last however many months? What type of sex do you have? Anal, oral, vaginal, with who? With transgender, with male, female, all that. And then they want to talk about drugs. Have you ever used drugs? And then it goes into, let's talk about your last 5 sexual partners. Can you give us their names, their phone numbers? We want to contact them, let them know someone they slept with has tested positive. And let's talk about what kind of medication. We want to track the infection. Like, it's traumatic. And my sister described it as kind of me being like a zombie. Like I was just out of it. I was in shock. And so she was answering like most of the questions. And part of the interrogation or the intake is people that have HIV or have had HIV for like a really long time. And I don't know if they think that's a way to connect or that's people's way of getting back. It didn't bring any comfort to me because the person that helped me was not in good shape. And it's very traumatic. But I ended up leaving there and going to like this Christian-based clinic to see if they could give me like any more like comfort. And they didn't. They basically came in, just said, you just need to come to grips. This is something you're going to have for the rest of your life. And that's how like my first 2-3 days went. Wow. I didn't name anybody's name. I chose to make those calls myself because I'm thinking if a guy can't even text me back, I'm not about to call him and tell him some shit like this. So I kind of took my time to call and talk to the people that I had slept with.
Nice. And you mentioned the people you slept with, and this is just for the viewers. I'm not really trying to get in your business, but I know that you was living the vida loca, right? You was living the life, traveling, doing your thing, had a following. Were you promiscuous? Was you living like a rock star with the female version? Like.
Yeah, no.
There are female rock stars, Phoenix.
Oh no.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just because like when you think of like a rock star and you think of like living that life is more so towards like males being whores, and that's me saying like female rock stars aren't whores. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I know what you meant. So
gotcha.
There were 2 guys that I had slept with in the past 3-4 years. And those are the 2 guys that I reached out to. So no, was not promiscuous, was not like one night stand. I definitely did not use a condom like how I should have, clearly. But everybody that I was with, I had like a connection with. And so it wasn't like just meet you and sleep with you.
Got you. And when you spoke to them, did they mention anything about like, oh, I knew that, or did they give you any comfort or any like resolution on to how you contracted it?
Nope.
Still up in the air, huh?
Nope. Yep. Have no idea.
Crazy thing about it.
Yeah. They
So
test negative. I haven't seen anything from anybody.
Wow. So it sounds like, I mean, going from getting this impersonal email to going to the emergency room to going to, the health department to going to this Christian clinic, like the message that seems to be repeated to you is like, this is what you have, deal with it. Like there doesn't seem to be a path forward for you or, any comfort. And so I'm curious, where did you go from there?
Yeah. So yeah, they didn't help at all. I ended up talking to one of my friends that I was about to leave the country with for one of our fit trips. And she told me about her naturopathic doctor, and told me that she could help me. And I reached out to her and I ended up setting an appointment to go see her. And that was like the first professional in the medical field, that told me that I could get rid of it. And that gave me hope. And I think once I had that hope that this wasn't something that I was going to suffer with for the rest of my life, or that I wasn't going to be sick on medication or sick off of medication, that like is what completely changed my mindset, but was still at a place of like a depression because I wasn't able to talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's go back to that holistic doctor stuff, because like I know you get a lot of slack on social media about that. And they feel like because you're an influencer on social media, you need to be more cautious about what you say, because the meds that's provided to individuals are helping. And from a science standpoint, you cannot get rid of AIDS. But I know, like you just mentioned, you found this doctor that told you like, hey, there's a chance you can get rid of AIDS. I know you're an advocate of holistic medicine. Let's talk about that and speak about this war, not war, but like this thing going on against how you feel about holistic medicine and what the medical
general public knows.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that it's not AIDS. I know you mentioned AIDS, but
HIV. There's two different. So let me. Sorry, there's two different things.
It's okay.
Yeah,
well, actually, that's a really good moment, I think.
Yeah.
Would you be able to explain the difference? Because I think that there's a lot of people who don't know the difference. I only recently learned the difference myself, so I'm very interested.
Absolutely. So you have something, when you have HIV, you have a CD4 count and you have a viral count. When your CD4 count goes below a certain level, it's considered AIDS. It depends on the World Health Organization. And the CDC has two different versions. One says under 200, the other says under 400. Your CD4 count is, it's basically your white blood cells, your T helper cells that help fight infection in your body. Okay. So you want that number to be as high as possible. You want your viral count to be as low as possible. So when they get under a certain level, that is when they consider it AIDS. But it is HIV until it gets to those points.
Got it. And HIV is both HIV and AIDS is not curable, correct?
To me, yes. You ask somebody else, they may say no.
Explain that.
So I believe that anything in your body that you were not born with, you can get rid of it. If you have proper diet, spiritual, physical, emotional attitude towards it, that you can heal your body. You get your body to the ultimate alkaline state, then you can remove virus, bacteria, HIV, diabetes, herpes, high blood pressure, cancer from your body.
Is that a fact or assumption?
For me, it's a fact, but for some people, it depends on what you believe in.
Yeah.
But you believe that based on what? Based on results? What are your levels like? And from when you started to where you are now, are your methods working? Yeah,
they're working. I go get my labs done between every 3 and 6 months. And every time that I've gone, except for one time, my levels have gotten better. The one time they did not is when that first year where I wasn't talking about anything.
So that's, I would guess, that mental and spiritual health place that you're talking about.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Yeah. And I think when people know, okay, you have 3 months to live or, whatever, that's all they're thinking about. That's all they focus on. And then they manifest that. And if you believe that you can heal your body, and if you're actively trying to do it and following a strict regimen, then you can do it. But if you don't believe it's possible, you're going to defeat yourself. So.
Yeah. When you went to the health department initially, did you end up taking the medication at first and then switch over to the holistic, or did you just go straight to the holistic?
I went straight to the holistic. Of course, when I'm in the appointment, everybody is trying to convince me to do the medical, the Western medicine, traditional medicine, and very upset that I wasn't, and thinking that I'm just in denial, and you know, like, we'll talk again in a few months and you'll be ready for it or whatever. Some family members were very upset, and to this day still, like, don't even talk to me about it because they don't like that I'm not taking medication. But yeah, I mean, I never took medication. I took HIV medication, which is called antiretrovirals, for 4 days in the past 3 years. And that's the only time I ever took Western medication for the virus.
So at that point, it sounds like you were already set on not taking the medication. Why was that? What brought you to that decision at that point?
So I had for years not taken medication for anything. I was very healthy. I was not eating meat already. I had already done that since like 2014. So I was overall really healthy. I had lost a lot of weight, so I had gotten rid of my pre-diabetes, and I was on the path to health. And so when I found out my numbers were almost undetectable, which means you can have children not pass it, you can have sex and not pass it, basically how they do on medication within 6 months, I was almost already there because I was already taking such good care of myself. So it wasn't like a thing where like you're close to AIDS, so you need to get on medication, or it wasn't, and also I knew what, and I don't want to say this so blatantly, but I know that the medication helps people live. It helps them live a healthy, happy life, and it saves lives. For me, it wasn't the right choice because I don't want the side effects that come with taking the medication for such a long amount of time.
Gotcha. So do you feel like your lifespan is shorter now because you're going through the holistic route rather than the traditional route?
No, I feel like it's longer. And I have a better quality of life.
Nice. That's awesome. It seemed like, I could tell, it seemed like you're like, I wouldn't be able to tell that you had, that you went through that spurt where you was down on your luck, because it still seemed like the same Estelle that when I looked at your videos from 2015, 2016, you still have that same energy.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. There was a period where I didn't take a lot of pictures with my face. I wasn't smiling a lot. People kind of knew something was going on by reading my captions. So there was a little period in there where it was not great.
What was that change? What flipped it? Flipped the switch for you?
I knew the culture of swiping and sleeping because of hearing from like my friends and people like just carelessly having sex. And if it could happen to me and me not have any idea who this person was that transferred it to me, and to know that in that moment that I found out that I wanted to end my life, it was a bigger priority for me to share with people how to live after trauma, that type of trauma, than it was to keep it a secret any longer. I'm a huge proponent on sharing your story, and if you go through something, sharing how you get through it. And if you keep it to yourself, it's almost like you don't want to tell people about God, you don't want to tell people about how to survive. And I feel like we go through those things to share things, and keeping secrets is keeping shame. And so for me, talking about it was like, there's probably one girl getting ready to start college and thinks it's not a big deal to let somebody just sleep with her without a condom because he's cute and he's popular, and this could change her entire life. And if she hears my story, sees that I'm smiling, then I could save her life. And that's why I said I gotta be open, and I gotta share, and I gotta talk about it.
It's bigger than you, right?
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I really like how this ties also back to the the first depression that you experienced, you know, and hearing that sermon and hearing that, you know, there's a period of grieving and there is a period, because it sounds like you took that time and you're like, I need to figure this out. I need to focus on me. I need to figure out this grieving process and work through that first. And once you were able to bring yourself to a place where you felt whole again, then you were able to do that outreach. And so you really started with you and working through what you needed to be able to reach other people. And I think that that's so important, to be able to take that time and then say, how can I then turn this traumatic, devastating thing and turn it into something hopeful for other people?
Yeah.
I absolutely agree, Gina. It seemed like she caught her second wind. Like she was on a high, she fell off the horse, she was down for a little bit, and then she found a new purpose, that second wind, and now she can't stop that marathon. So I love it.
Yeah.
So in that time that you weren't talking about it, what are some misunderstandings or some like false stigmas do you think that exist around HIV that people should really know about?
I didn't really fault anybody for like their ignorances, because I was ignorant before I had it. I didn't know anything about it. I think it's important for people to educate themselves on how you can contract it. People can kiss me and touch me when I'm sweating and like not get it. But also like just different ways I tried to explain to people how to talk to people when they find out somebody is positive. And for me personally, I know that it came from a place of love when people did this, but so I never stopped them or said, you know, that was kind of whack. But I never really liked when people brought up Magic Johnson. Like, oh, you know, Magic Johnson is, and I'm like,
I was just about to say Magic Johnson. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You know, that one person that we all know.
Yeah, we're all learning. And some people might be okay with that, but for me, it didn't bring any comfort to know that somebody who's a millionaire, multimillionaire, healed themselves or like are okay. I have nothing to do with, like, my life is not the same as Magic Johnson's. So to hear that, or to hear somebody say like, oh, you're gonna live a long life, like you can still have kids and like all this stuff, those aren't things that I personally wanted to hear. I just wanted somebody else to be mad with me. I wanted people to be like, you know what, this is fucked up, and you know, I am so sorry this is happening, and you don't deserve, like, I just wanted people to be mad with me instead of like trying to, everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna live, because if you've never heard that and if you've never had it, there's no way that you can relate to somebody. So to say like, I can't imagine, you cannot even imagine what this does to somebody's psyche and life at 30 years old as a female that's like at their peak of life.
Yeah.
That's such a thing in Western society too, I think, where you see somebody going through something tough and you want to pull them out of it, not just for their own sake because you think you're helping them, but also because it makes you uncomfortable to sit with them and to be able to meet someone where they're at. Like you said, like, don't try to pull me out of this. I deserve this space to be angry. Sit with me, be angry with me, and experience this with me. Like, be uncomfortable, allow yourself to be uncomfortable to help that person, because that's really what they need, is they need you to be there, not to pull them out of it.
I need you to be mad.
Practice empathy, not avoidance. So I have it's going on. I know you mentioned myths, right? Myths of being around or dating someone with HIV. What is your dating life like? How is that?
So my dating life is non-existent. That is like not a thing right now. I don't know if, maybe 2 dates since I found out.
Is that directly related, or is that just because you're out being you and being amazing? You're like, I don't got time.
You focus.
No, I think people use that as like, oh, well, you're too busy, or you seem so independent. I'm busy because if I stop being busy, I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to get sad. I'm going to get miserably lonely, and like I don't want to be that. So I'm going to continue to stay busy and active and do things to fill my time.
Yeah.
So I've heard, yeah, you know, you're too busy, you're too independent, all these things. I have gone, I think, not even gone, okay, so I've gone on like 2 dates since I found out, but I have probably had like text conversations with, I don't know, maybe like 5 guys. And once they find out, oh, it's not a problem. You didn't ask for it. You don't deserve this. You're beautiful. And then I never hear from them again. So it's not really like it's in my control. I can't make people want to appreciate how amazing I am and look past that. I don't know if it's fair for me to expect that. I think that a lot of men in particular are really concerned with what other people think about who they're with. And if somebody's like, oh, you with shorty with HIV, like, bro, you must got that. Like, it's just not a good look, I guess. I don't know. You would have to ask all these guys that ghost me, so.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's fair. And to your point of, you know, I don't know if it's okay to expect that or, you know, but I think that it sounds like you do. It sounds like you do have an expectation that people do appreciate you for who you are. And I think that you absolutely should expect that. And anyone who wants to stick around is someone who deserves to experience that amazingness that you have within you. And anyone that is going to ghost you, like, they need to go then, because they don't deserve that, you know?
And with, I know you're not huge on traditional meds, but I know for men, they have this thing called PrEP, and they could take PrEP. So it's ways to like protect yourself or be proactive when dating someone that has HIV or AIDS, correct?
Oh yeah, there's condoms, there's PrEP, there's a bunch of different things, but nobody ever really sticks around long enough to figure those things out or to know that those things exist. It's I can't have sex with you when I want right now, and apparently that's all I want from you, and so I don't really want to talk to you anymore. So I honestly don't know. And people ask me all the time, would I talk to someone that has HIV? And first of all, I don't think that I should have to go into a box of like only talk to people that have herpes, or only talk to people that have HIV, or cancer people should only talk to people with cancer. But if I knew that someone was taking care of themselves the way that I take care of myself, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I don't think that's the only type of person that I should be with just because of my situation. It's like, oh, you're Black and you're suffering because of, you know, racism. You should only be with somebody else that's Black and, you know, is dealing with racism.
Because that will help everything.
Right.
You solved it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
what's funny though is to your earlier point too, you know, is that you said you're not promiscuous. You were in 2 relationships in 3 or 4 years, and that this really can happen to anybody. And the fact that you know about it is what deters people. But it's like, people may be sleeping with people who have HIV and don't know it yet. And it's like, it's a matter of information. I
can meet somebody and go have drinks and dinner and not say anything. And I can 100% have sex with people and them not even ask me or suggest a condom. And they would have no idea. It doesn't have a look, and it doesn't have a feeling, and it doesn't have like a habit. And so I think that and it doesn't have symptoms all the time. If you get really bad, you'll start to have symptoms. But if it's early, or if you're almost undetectable, you won't have symptoms. So you're right. People just don't know, and they don't think it can ever happen to them. So they're not going to always take precaution. And that part is what I'm trying to speak to people about and break the mold, as far as, okay, like, even if somebody tells me, okay, like, I think my 13-year-old sister is starting to be like sexually active, and like, I'm like, you need to talk to her about HIV. You need to tell her that if she has oral sex with this guy, she can get this, and that's a risk that she's having. Don't be afraid because she's having sex or whatever. Talk to her about the risk factors before you just shy away from the fact that she's sexually active.
Exactly. That's a good point. That's a good point. So in January, on your post, well, my stalking, right? You wrote, create the life that you want to live. Is that saying true for you now? And if so, what keeps you going in motivating yourself to create the life that you want to live?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge believer in manifesting. And if I want something, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to journal about it. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to meditate about it. And I think that when you create the type of environment that you want to live in, you're going to be happier. And if you are creating an environment that other people say you should live in or suggest that you should live in, you're never going to be happy because you're always trying to please somebody else. So yeah, I 100% think that I'm still living the life that I want to create and respecting people around me as I do it.
Nice.
Yeah, you found what works for you, and it clearly works for you.
Killing it. So explain, tell the viewers about this Dawn 2.0. That's what I call it, man. I see you out there, you killing it, you back on your grind. And I love the fact that, so I'm the type of person, Gina and I, obviously we're life coaches. And my thing that I like to push is be your model self. That's role model, right? Be your model self. And it seemed like you're your model self. If you're at your high or your low, you look like a freaking model at one particular time. You're still beautiful, but you gained a couple of pounds like you did like when you began. Yeah. However, you put it out there. You like, this is me. And you tell people. I think that's empowering. Do you truly feel that way? Because and again, not to try to expose you or try to get in your business, but I really want the viewers to understand that, because what you just dropped us is very powerful. There's a lot of individuals that go through their highs and then go through their lows, and you pick yourself back up. But every single day, I see you out there smiling. What happens when the camera goes off? Who's Dawn?
Yeah, I am 100% that person that is positive. I do have moments where I'm sad. I have moments where I'm lonely. And I try to share those so people can see all sides of it. But I am generally a happy person. I'm very emotional. I cry a lot, but not out of sadness. Like, I feel for other people more than most do. And so I go through that. I don't get stressed out very easily. Yeah, I am generally like a really happy person. And what you see online is like what I am in real life. I have gotten really... God.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is why we're here.
I said I'm emotional, right?
I didn't want to see that. It's real shit.
Wait a second. You're human? Hold up.
I thought she was Superwoman too.
Well, I've just gotten really good over the years at coping. And I think that when people don't work on their issues and they like bury them and act like they don't exist and are angry, that's how I used to be. I used to just be like very angry and always have an attitude and like take my own personal issues out on people. And I have really learned how to channel my frustration or my anger or my disappointment into something productive. And getting vans and remodeling vans and using my hands to just do things to keep me busy is not just something to do to fill my time or just like to show off. It's actual like physical therapy for me. And I think that when you have ways to release that pain, release your anger, release your stress, you're overall like a happier person. People always say like, if you're always putting trash in your trash can, you're going to take trash out. But if you're putting goodness and happiness and joy and good vibes and feeding your spirit with those things, that's what people are going to get from you. And so that's what I try to do with my body, and good food and happy stuff and like, yeah, things that make me happy, because then I'm going to give happiness out.
Nice.
I have to cheers to that, Phoenix. I can't let that one go by.
Dawn, I appreciate that.
I don't know where my water is.
I do a double one.
Cheers for you.
But still, this is Phoenix.
No, that's absolutely beautiful. And what I really love about that is the acknowledgement that you are human and you do have those emotions. That those emotions come up, and that's okay. It's what you do with them.
Yep.
And, you know, you're taking them and you're channeling them into something positive and you're processing them, and you're not just forcing them away and saying, no, I don't feel angry. No, I don't feel sad. No, I do. And that's okay. And I'm going to take that and turn it into something good. So that's so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Like that just, that hit right here.
It did. I got goosebumps.
Oh.
And so, Dawn, before we wrap things up, I know you mentioned your van. I just want the people to understand that. So when she was on this world tour, she actually lived in a van, no hotel, no Airbnb. She lived in a van. Check out her Instagram. She built it up. It looks like a freaking studio. Can you share that experience really quickly before we wrap things up?
Yeah, sure. So when I was on the tour, I actually was in hotels, but for the past 3 years, I've been in a van. And yeah, my first van, I lived in it for an entire summer while I worked at the airport. My second van, I was kind of between my family's house and the van. I just finally saved up enough money by making masks and teaching classes to get a van that I can stand up in. So I'm in the process of working on that. That one's going to be completely off grid. It's going to have a shower, a kitchen, a bed, storage, everything. It's going to have solar panels, so it can be completely self-sufficient, and hopefully it'll be where I can live for at least the next 2 years and stay rent-free, bill-free, utility-free, and just pay car insurance. So yeah.
It sounds like you're building a van version of yourself.
Yeah, it's going to have everything in it that I need to live. So
awesome.
That is amazing.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for joining us, man. This has been an impactful and exciting show. Man, cheers to Dawn Estelle Archer.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is amazing. So before we wrap it, before we go, this is our favorite part. This is my favorite part of the show. It's our thing of the week. Dawn, our thing of the week is when we provide our viewers with inspiration, something that we want them to carry going into the next time we meet. My thing of the week this week, like you said, you're in Richmond, Virginia. I'm also in Richmond, Virginia. The reason why I'm in Richmond, Virginia is because COVID-19 has impacted, the pandemic has impacted more people than none. I know a slew of individuals that came to me and say, you know what, you're a life coach. I need your services. I'm not handling this. I'm not handling this well. One of those individuals personally was my mother. She wasn't handling it because she was going through some medical things in her life, and with being home, stuck at home, not being able to, those distractions, happy hour, going out with friends, it puts you in a place where you're just sitting thinking about the problems, the issues, etc. So my thing of the week is to let you individuals know, hey, reach out to that person that means something to you and let them know that you love them. If you can, wear a mask, you have a social distance cup of coffee or a happy hour at their place. Do something to let that person know, like, hey, I love you. Let's spend time, because you don't know what each individual is going through. And the older you get, the more you try to stay closeted and not let other individuals know what you're going through. So it's good. And I see that impact that I had on my mother. And it had an impact on me. Like, I'm winning right now. Life is good. So I had the opposite experience that a lot of people I know during COVID. However, you could always advance, right? So if I'm here in my happiness, I'm here now that I spent this past weekend with my mother. So that would be my challenge to my viewers is, hey, let somebody know that you're close to, parent, spouse, that, hey, I love you and I appreciate you. And let's kick it for a little bit, even if it's in person, Zoom, or on FaceTime. Thing of the week, Coach Phoenix.
Man, Phoenix, your thing of the week, like, almost always makes me teary. You're so heartfelt about things.
For sure. I just want to give my love to people and let them, like, take that and have that little jewel to just keep them going until they see us next week for that next thing of the week,
I love it. So my thing of the week is the song Ablaze by Alanis Morissette. So the first time I heard this song, she performed it on The Tonight Show, but she performed it via Zoom with her band. And she was actually holding her daughter when she sang the song. And the song she actually wrote about her children, to her children, basically talking about how she's raising them to hold on to their fire and their kindness and their curiosity, which I think is a beautiful message that is really powerful for everyone, not just those of us who have kids, but for all of us, because we all have that inner child that needs to hold on to that fire and that kindness and the curiosity. And Estelle, I can see that you have held on to your fire and your kindness throughout your life, and the trials and the tribulations and the highs and lows that you have experienced. And it was just an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you again so much for joining us today.
Thank
Second
you.
that. Viewers, click her link, check out her website, check out her classes, her fitness classes, go to her IG, tell a friend to tell a friend, like, subscribe our show, check out our website. Thank you so much. We love y'all. We see you next week. Coach Phoenix, toasters to coaches, and we're out. Cheers.
Cheers.